Thank you for joining me today. I'm Nathan Garner, the project manager and one of the tech support team leaders here at Dynamic CCTV. Today we're going to be taking a look at HikVision's new AX Pro Hub, which is a new alarm system from HikVision that's available to purchase in the next couple of weeks. This is primarily focused around the HikPro Connect side of things. So the HikPro Connect is more of your installer kind of app for health monitoring and to manage all the different sites that you do have out there. And it also allows you to brand the Hik Connect app that your customers would use with your company logos and everything as well. Which we'll get onto, and we'll take a look at some of the setup features on the AX Pro, as well as some of the benefits of using HikPro Connect with the system. But we've got a few slides to go through first, and then we can get onto the app on my phone as well. And we can also look at the HikPro Connect web front end and actually accessing the AX Pro remotely as well from that. So what is the So primarily it is an intruder alarm system. However, it does have a lot more benefits on top of that and a lot more different devices that you can actually add in to the AX system. So you've got flood detection, video verification, and when it comes to the alarms, there's also the PIR cam that's available. And you've got your intrusion detection, home automation, and fire detection that will be coming in future as well to the AX Pro solution. So generally with the system topology, when you're using the AX alarm system, you have your different wireless zones. So these could be your door contacts, your emergency button, PR cam, a standard detector, as well as your wireless key fobs, wireless keypad for coded entries, and then the wireless outputs, which would be your external sounder with the light, as well as the internal sounders as well, which are all wireless to the system. That all links back to the main wireless panel, which would be a hub using 868 megahertz radio frequency. And then that is either set up via, if it's standalone, through the Hik Connect app, or through HikPro Connect as an installer, and then that would then be assigned to your customer's Hik Connect account. Once you finish commissioning the system, you can then assign it to them through the HikPro Connect solution. It also has full ARC monitoring capabilities, so if the customer needs a monitored alarm system, that can be done with the AX Pro system. And it can also do linkage to NVRs through the HikPro Connect solution as well as the system. So the way it would work with the HikPro Connect is you'd have your installer would be the site manager using the HikPro Connect system, which allows them to see the health monitoring, remote configuration, and also configure the linkage action between different devices. So if a detector is triggered on site, you could have that trigger PEZ preset position, for example, when that detector is triggered. The actual owner of the site, they would use the Hik Connect side of things, which would be set up by the installer through HikPro Connect and then sent to them as a site manager or site owner for the system. The cloud servers handle everything in the background, which is using the AWS cloud servers, and then that can link through to your different CCTV systems from HikVision with your cameras. The AX Pro alarm system, access control and intercom does work through the HikPro Connect as well as the doorbells, and they can all link to each other through the HikPro Connect solution through there. So some of the key features of the AX Pro side of things, so it's ENG2 standard, fully compliant with the system. The actual technology for transmission between the main hub and the detectors is using HikVision's Tri-X technology to ensure that the communications sound between the actual detectors and the hub with that system. The ease of installation when it comes to the detectors, so they're really easy to set up. It's a video that we have put on our YouTube channel of actually configuring the detectors. You add the main hub itself to the application by scanning the QR code as long as it's connected to a network, and then you assign your detectors, your key fobs or anything like that by scanning the QR codes on the back of them, which makes them really simple to install and a lot easier and less time consuming on site for engineers as well. There is protocols put in place to prevent any jamming of the signals or interference with regards to the wireless transmission between the detectors and the hub itself, to prevent anyone from trying to prevent the system from triggering or anything like that. With the actual units themselves, there is more that will be released as we go further down the line, and more options coming in regards to the HikPro Connect as well on what you can achieve with it for that. So the key features of the HikPro Connect side of things, so customer authorization for site management. So once a device is being configured through HikPro Connect and it is then assigned to the site owner, they then give permission for you to be able to dial into the site and manage it remotely, GDPR compliance and stuff like that as well. So the end user gives you the permission to manage their system once it's installed. It gives you full remote system management, so it allows you to access the web front end of the units without the need for any manual port forwarding or anything like that, which we are going to take a look on a bit later on in this webinar. We'll come on to that side of things. You also get the health monitoring function, so if it detects power loss or the battery's getting low, you can actually receive a notification to your HikPro Connect account as an installer, so you know before the actual end user does that you would need to go to arrange a site visit to replace any batteries, or if a detector's failed or anything like that. You can see that straight away from your health monitoring screens on the HikPro Connect. So the installation time, the detectors can be installed on site through using the HikPro Connect, and then the commission side of things can be done remotely through the web front end or on the mobile application that I'll also come on to as well. So with HikPro Connect, you can use flexible linkage across devices. So as I said earlier, for example, if you had PEZ on site, which is also added to HikPro Connect for the site, you could have, when a detector goes off and triggered on AX Pro, that can send the PEZ to a preset position. So if you had a door contact on a front door that was triggered as an alarm, you could have a PEZ in the car park, for example, spin round to that front door, and that can also start recording or anything like that through HikPro Connect. When it comes to the HikPro Connect side of things, you get the ability to manage your employees and your permissions through the HikPro Connect, so you can assign specific engineers that deal with specific sites, and you can also set the permissions of what your engineers can do through the HikPro Connect portal, which makes it a lot easier when you're managing multiple engineers that are doing site visits or that are monitoring systems. And you can also get a full log of everything that the engineer has done to any of the systems on their HikPro Connect login. And there's also the ability for the co-branding function. So if you assign a site owner through HikPro Connect, when they use the Connect app, it will have your company branding as the logo, and also your company contact details can also be forwarded through to the Connect app as well. And it is a fully cloud-hosted service for the HikPro Connect solution, which uses Amazon's AWS servers for that. So when it comes to the AX Pro alarm system, it's important to know that the alarm's not in a fault scenario or where one of the sensors failed or anything like that. And with the HikPro Connect, you can see a health monitoring screen, which will give you the status of all your security panels that are added to the system, which would be your AX Pro units. So you can see if there's any faults that are on the system and deal with them as accordingly. It may be just a setting that needs changing, which you can then dial in through the same web page. Or if it's a detector that's failed or power failure, you can then arrange with the end user or client to then attend a site visit to then resolve the issue. With this, you can also export reports. So from the actual HikPro Connect web client, you can export reports for the actual site and show exactly to the end user the faults or anything that have been triggered to the system, and it gives you something that you can actually show them or send to them in the case as well. So with the linkage across devices, you can link your CCTV, the control panels, which is the AX Pro, video in intercom, and the doorbell are all supported with the cross-device linkage. So you can, for example, call a preset when one of the alarms is triggered, and you can lock a door through access control. And you can also set schedules on this as well as to when you want the linkage actions to be armed via HikPro Connect as well. So these are just some of the examples of the different linkage actions that you can set up through HikPro Connect. So for the first one there, we've got an intrusion detection that's triggered by the PIR detector, which has gone to the hub which is then gone to the cloud servers, and then the NVRs triggered to capture images, and the access control has been set to close the door. The bottom one there, the owner returns to the home and disarms the AX hub. That means that the internal cameras, the privacy masks are enabled, and recordings disarmed as well through that, or any other linkage actions can disarm through that function, which makes it really powerful and a lot easier for customers to use as a system, and also gives them the flexibility of having cameras in their home but have privacy masks covering the images when they're in the property, and when the alarm system's armed, those privacy masks are taken away and it's recording everything in the home once they're not there, in case there is an intruder or someone breaks in or anything like that, they can see that being recorded. So with the cloud's hosted service, so this works with cloud P2P technology that's based on the AWS services, so there's no need for a static IP address or any port forwarding in order to be able to use this system, and it is a fully hosted service, so it's flexible and it can scale to match the needs of your business or what needs to be done with the system. And it always ensures cloud-based systems, you're not having to update your software or anything like that. The software is always on the up to date, and it can also push out updates to your devices that are connected or added to HikPro Connect as well, which makes it a lot easier than doing site visits or doing site visits to check firmwares. You can do that and manage it all through HikPro Connect from there. And with systems like this, it's important to take into consideration the security aspects. So with the transmission between the device and the HikPro Connect cloud servers, the encryptions, HTTPS, TLS, AES and RSA P2P technology between the endpoint devices and the HikPro Connect platform, which is then on the Amazon AWS services, and the same encryption technology is then used between the cloud servers and your mobile applications and the web client of HikPro Connect through there as well. And there is ISO certifications in there for the system as well. So the installers having access to the systems, end users want to make sure that they're only accessible at the consent of the end user. So the end user does have to be consent to the system being monitored by HikPro Connect by the installer, so they are in control. So if they don't want to share the system with an installer, they can disable that once it's transferred over to them. Cloud service itself is the servers are based in Ireland, and all the data for HikPro Connect is stored in Ireland for the cloud servers. So there's a few things that are going to be coming out in the near future with HikPro Connect. So there will be cloud storage that will be released shortly, as well as cloud network switch management, so you can see the actual status of all your switches on the network, as well as access control and attendance can be checked online by HikPro Connect as well, which will be an additional feature that we'll release. This is just a video showing the initial setup through HikPro Connect, which I will send out to everyone after the webinar. So we can take a look at the web front end of HikPro Connect, which does give you the same kind of functionality as a system. What we need to do is just home page, which will ask me to log back in again. So you can see this is the home page of our HikPro Connect, and I can see the site, health monitoring and our company settings down there. And on our home page, it's given us an overview of all sites and devices that are added to HikPro Connect. If I go into site down the left hand side here, you can see I've got site set up as AX Webinar. If I click on that, you can see I've got the AX Pro system added, and it is showing online, and the device type is set to security panel. What I can do is click on the remote configuration cog here, and then I can enter in the password. As you can hear, it's just notified that I've logged into the AX Pro system there, and it's also sent a notification to my HikConnect app as a user as well, stating that the AX Pro has entered programming mode because someone's logged into the web front end of the unit. So you can see there it's taken us straight into the web front end of the AX Pro, which has given us the model number and firmware version and everything of the unit. So we can go in and set our time management up. We can go to our users. So you can see there my HikConnect account is set up as an administrator, and then the HikPro Connect account is set up as the installer under the user section. And I can go in and click on edit on these, and I can check the key fobs, and I can also edit specific permissions on the actual AX Pro for the system for that specific account. If I go into our devices and go into zone, you can see I've got 4 different zones set up. I've got wireless zone 1, 3 and 4, and I've also got a test zone set up there as well. We can edit these zones through the setting here. So you can see this is the PIR cam set up, and it's linked to area 1, and it's set to an instant arming type. So once the system's armed, as soon as it's triggered, it will instantly trigger the actual alarm on the system. And we can also set it to chime. So when the system's disarmed, it can actually trigger a chime whenever motion's detected on the camera. Same with the door contacts as well. And you can have a chime sound once that's triggered on the system. And you can also set the sounder delay on them. Or you can even enable a silent alarm. So if you don't want the actual detector or the system to make a noise once it's triggered, you just want it to silently alarm, then you can enable that through here as well. If we go on the detector configuration, we can enable or disable the actual LED on the detectors. We can also set the polling rate. So this is the polling rate between the detector and the hub itself, which can be configured dependent on the needs of the system. By default, this one's set to 5 minutes. So every 5 minutes it will poll to see if the actual detector is still there and online in its current status. And if we wanted to add in additional devices, we can do all that through the web front end, and we don't actually need to do anything on mobile itself. We can actually go in to enroll a device. We would just need to enter the serial number of the device that we want to add to the system, whether this be a detector, a key fob, a keypad, tag reader, or anything like that. We can go ahead and enter the serial number in there. And you can see that I've actually already got a keypad added to the system. I can click on settings in there, and I can set the backlight off time, so the actual backlight of the keypad itself. I can set the times in which to have the backlight on, whether or not I want to enable or disable the function buttons, the alarm buzzer on the unit itself. I can set a panic alarm, silent medical alarm. There's a lot of different configurations that you can actually do with the system through here, and this can all be done remotely. The AX hub isn't port forwarded on our network. This is doing a straight P2P connection with the HikPro Connect solution. So it makes it really easy. So I can change the names of the system as well. Do that. So it'll actually change the name of the keypad as well. So you can do your commissioning off-site and tweak any settings, or if the setting needs changing by a customer, that can be done remotely from the system. This is where the automation is going to come in with the relay modules and stuff like that with them. You can also add in network cameras that are added on the same network as the AX Pro system. We can go in and enroll a device via the IP address, so we can add in the actual camera itself directly into the system with the IP address, the port number and the username and password, and that can be then related to specific areas on the AX Pro system. We can then go into area management, and you can see the different zones that have been set up within area 1. We can go in and edit the names of area 2 and configure that by enabling it there. And name, and then save that on there as well. When it comes to the communication side of things with the AX Pro, it does have a wired Ethernet connection, Wi-Fi connection, and also cellular data, depending on what's needed on site or the connections that are available. And there is SIM card slots on the back of the main hub itself, and those settings can be set in here. So if you needed a static IP address, for the actual AX hub. You can go in and configure that through the web front end through the HikPro Connect solution. If we were using HikCentral as the monitoring station software for the AX Pro, if you was an installer wanting to set up your own monitoring solution using HikCentral, the AX Pro alarm triggers and any offline events can be sent through to HikCentral using the ISUP protocol. So you can see there that's set to trigger through to our main HikCentral test server that we have set up. We can also set the different types of alarms that we want to trigger, so whether or not it's a fire alarm or anything like that through IMS 4200 there, to the alarm receiving center, which notifications we want to go through to our monitoring station. We can enable and disable those as needed. With the apps, this would be to HikPro Connect and HikConnect. So we might not want to receive through events when the panel lid's open. We can go ahead and turn that off in the system. And we can also configure the telephone and SMS message through the web front end of the actual AX Pro unit in here. So if an alarm's triggered, it can actually ring through to a specific number using that option there. And the cloud service is the HikConnect side of things and HikPro Connect. So this is where the actual connection is set up to the cloud servers on the AX Pro. We can also set up the ability to send through emails from the AX Pro system, which can all be done through here as well. And if we go into our maintenance section, it's where we can see the device information, device statuses, so the zone statuses, so you can see all of our batteries are at 100% status there, but we'd be able to see as they gradually get older, the percentages drop. If we were using repeaters, they would also show their statuses through here, and we can also then do a full log search and export that through the web client as well. So within the HikPro Connect side of things, you can see that my HikConnect account is set as the site owner. So I'm the actual owner of the site, which is being sent to me via HikPro Connect, and I can also remove the end user's HikConnect ability through there. If we wanted to check the status of the system, we'd go into our health monitoring section here and go to health status. Up, and we can then go to our security control panels, which we've only got one added to our system, which is the AX Pro unit. Click that drop down there, which will give us the battery status, the signal status of the detectors that are actually added to the AX hub, and we can then go to our keypads, which we can see there, that's in normal status, and we've also got our sounder added to the system as well. We can also see that the power supply is connected, so it's not running on its battery power on the hub. It is connected to mains power supply, and it's currently using the Ethernet connection for its network connection, which we can see through there as a system for that. And we can go in here as well and click on remote configuration through this page to get us straight into the remote configuration of the actual unit itself as well. Want to do that through there. Within the exception center, this is where we'd see any exceptions from the AX hub, and this is then broken down into our different zones as well as our keypad or anything like that. You can use this as a monitoring system on for all of your different sites that you have set up for all of your customers, so it makes it nice and easy to manage all the different sites that you have added to the system. If we go back into site and go back into here, we can remove the Connect service. So if we want to be able to remove the HikPro Connect service from the end user, we can do that, as when it was added to HikPro Connect, we enabled the option at the top. You can also change language, and we can apply for PIN as well for that. So there's the PIN to upgrade the actual system. We can set up different linkage rules, so we could add a linkage rule to trigger through to an MVR or a PTZ from the different systems. So if you click on the drop down here and select wireless zone 1, so when that's triggered, whether or not it's an instant zone alarm or the sensor's being tampered with, we can then go ahead and add in a linkage action. So whether or not this be capturing a picture on one of the cameras added to the CCTV system, or call of patrol, there is a multitude of different things that we can actually have set as the linkage action. And we can also set the schedule for when that linkage action is enabled on the system as well. For the exceptions, so this is if there's any errors reported on the system or any exceptions to the device. So you can see we haven't got any exceptions enabled for our different wireless zones. So if I select our keypad here and click on the pencil icon, we can set up a low battery warning exception, a network exception, and a weak signal connection, and OK on that for the system. We can also set up the different applications that we want to receive it to. So by default, all notifications will go through to the web portal of HikPro Connect. We can also enable the exceptions to go through to the HikPro Connect mobile client. We can also send an email to specific users as well through the system, which we can OK there as well. And we can enable the exceptions on the system here. Do that. So now if any devices or any of the specific areas that we've set up, and it will send through any notifications or anything to HikPro Connect, which makes it really easy to be monitored by a company. It is a really powerful tool to use the actual solution with AX Pro, and makes it a lot more user-friendly and a lot better for end users and clients as well. Their installers can monitor the system and they can be aware and prepared for any faults or any failures on the system, or when there's any maintenance that needs to be done, such as low batteries, when they need replacing, they can see the actual percentage and know when they need to arrange to go back to site to perform maintenance through the system. That was a look at the AX Pro with HikPro Connect. So with our technical support, we do have 10 technical support team members that are on our phones as our help desk, which are all available to answer any questions that you have or any technical support needs. We are available from 8:30 on the morning until 5:30 on an evening as well. So if you have any questions, or feel free to send me any emails, questions directly. Contact details are on screen there. I will send a copy of the slides over, as well as a setup video for the AX Pro through HikPro Connect, which does cover adding the detectors to the system, and as well as sending your permissions up as well. But I will start going through the Q&As now. So Nilesh has asked if the AX Pro have external perimeter PIRs. So currently there isn't any external PIRs available for the AX Pro side of things. It is only internal at the moment, but this is likely to come in further down the line. I will make sure you are aware of those once those come out as well. Nilesh has asked, can you please tell me what the difference is between the site owner and user? So does site owner relate to owner of the system? So the site owner would be the owner of the actual system. They can then share, as they normally would, through HikConnect to anyone else that might live at the property, or any other employees if it was installed at a business. With the HikPro Connect, it would be site managers that it's broken down into. So the actual owner of HikPro Connect can add their employees to the system, and they would then become site managers for those. Brams asked, did I see a section for SMS and phone calling? Does this require a SIM card in the panel, or does it work on Ethernet? So for the SMS and phone calling, this would require the SIM card in the actual AX Pro hub. With the emails, this can be done by the Ethernet. The SMS and phone calling, that would need to be done using the SIM cards into the unit itself. As I said, if you have any other questions or any further queries, please feel free to contact me directly. I'll send out the slides and everything at the end of this webinar, and I look forward to you joining me on the next one. And we do have a webinar scheduled for every Friday this month at 10:30, covering a few different areas. So I'm glad if you could join me on there. Thank you very much. Cheers.